To his beard, but doesn't pull the.
Hey, welcome to the Glenn Gower Podcast, the best podcast you'll listen to all day. Sponsored by Mission Blueprint. I want to talk about the story
I love the stories.
in Mark
Okay.
chapter 9. I'm not
Oh,
going to
Mark.
read. Yeah, I'm not going to read the whole story, but this is the healing of the boy with a mute spirit. Mute spirit. Wait, do you know the story?
I don't.
Well, in brief, the parents brought this boy who can't talk, and it's a demon because the demon throws the boy down. He foams at the mouth, and he asked when Jesus sent the apostles up by two, he asked two of them to heal him, deliver him.
Okay.
They couldn't get the job done. And Jesus makes a statement. He says, "Oh, faithless generation, how long am I to be with you?" And so what ends up happening is Jesus himself delivers and heals this boy. So this demon comes out of him. Have you ever seen a deliverance? Live?
No.
Yeah,
No.
it's wild.
Okay.
Yeah. I've been a part of one.
Okay.
Crazy.
Okay.
And then Jesus ends by saying, "This kind cannot be driven out by anything but prayer and fasting."
Prayer and fasting.
And you and I are in Exodus 90,
Exodus 90.
and we've been doing some fasting.
Getting the hell out of Egypt, man. Getting the hell out. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, we're still in Egypt, man.
Didn't know it was this hard.
Yeah. So we want to talk about fasting today. And what does Jesus say about fasting in scriptures? Now, I'm not going to go over the scripture by scripture, and this is what Jesus says. And sometimes he doesn't say specifically about a thing, rather he shows you. And you'll find that when you study the scriptures that he shows you a lot. And sometimes he says bizarre things.
Like what?
Like, what are you talking about, Lord? You know, the scripture, your mothers and brothers are here at the front door asking, for you. Well, who are my mothers and my brothers? But those who do the will of the Father. Huh? It's like, so especially in John, it gets crazy. So fasting, what does Jesus show us about fasting? I mean, that's a big question. And why are we talking about fasting? Well, we're talking about fasting for really two reasons today. One, there are spiritual benefits to fasting.
Huge.
Across
the religious spectrum.
That's right. As a matter of fact, Father James Blount, a Catholic exorcist, said he thinks fasting is more important than prayer. That's very interesting. I've never heard that before. And I'm not sure why he said that. I do think they go hand in hand. I think if you begin by fasting, I think it likely leads you to prayer.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And fasting and prayer as a duet, hell doesn't have any power over you.
No.
Right? So there's some spiritual benefits of fasting, but there's also physical benefits.
Oh, of course.
Of fasting.
If we move into the 21st century, there's all the science now, right? The non-religious stuff that we now make sense of the religious stuff of why it works for us.
We are in the age of empirical evidence.
Empirical, baby.
We cannot just hear what Jesus said and do it. No, we have to know why before we do it. It's a very interesting age.
That's right.
Yeah, we want scientific data, which is a dangerous place to be. Nevertheless, I want to get into first the spiritual benefits.
Notice how he just grazes over that, folks.
Yeah, I really want to blast science, but I'm not a scientist, so I have no right. But anyway, one of the benefits of fasting from the spiritual point of view is self-mastery. Self-mastery, it's the power within us to control our desires and actions. So when we have self-mastery, we have control. And without self-mastery, we don't have a lot of self-control.
Right.
And so this develops an awareness in a person when you begin to fast, right? It develops a spiritual awareness that we might not have seen before.
Absolutely.
So when you start fasting, things begin to come to light. And I'm going to get to that in my third point. But this self-mastery is so interesting because when you begin fasting, you build up like this resistance to the world, little by little, incremental, right? This incremental resistance. And it's sort of like putting on the armor of God, isn't it?
It is. But just realize on the flip side of this, we've also incrementally taken the armor off.
Oh, tell me more about that.
So in our lifestyle and our lifestyle choices, because I think it's become very evident for me through this Exodus 90 that we just even mitigating the snacking between meals, and how in our culture right now, food is such a convenience. It's everywhere. I mean, the shelves are never empty, at least from a standpoint of we're going to go hungry. We might not get the right cornflakes, but there's always another
option.
Or
well, we sure cry when those cornflakes aren't there.
Right.
Keep
but
going.
We're not going to go hungry. And
No.
the snacking between meals and reducing that and taking that out during this Exodus 90 just revealed to me how convenience has really just allowed me not to have any interdependence on God intervening in my life.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Dennis and I are doing what is called Exodus 90.
Getting the hell out of Egypt.
Yes, getting out of Egypt. And it's a 90-day exercise of really getting away from the world. So your media, gone. Eating in between meals, gone. Adding more scripture, adding more prayer into your life. And there's other things we do as well.
Cold showers, baby. Love the cold showers. Refreshing.
I don't know how we do this. It's just so painful. I'm a baby. But, and so anyway, we did Exodus 90 a couple years ago.
We did, right on the precipice of COVID.
That's right. And now we're doing it again. And it's a little easier this time.
What's interesting on the backstory is this is how Glenn and I met, was at a little beer and brothers called Bob.
Band of Brothers.
And, well, it was beer and brothers too.
There was definitely beer there.
There was.
And there's no alcohol in Exodus 90, but go ahead.
No, but it wasn't Peter that brought up the, hey, what's this Exodus 90 thing? We should do it. And you asked the question, well, who wants to do this Exodus 90?
Yeah.
And I'm just the silly Protestant having no idea what the heck Exodus 90, but it sounds like a challenge. Let's do it.
I was so mad at you because I thought, I'm just going to say, hey, anybody want to do this? Okay, and just move on. And Dennis like, I'll do it. And like, who the heck are you now? I don't even, who is this guy? Anyway.
But little did we know, because Exodus 90 starts 90 days before Easter, that between January and Easter of 2020, we were going to go through one of the biggest flip-flops and challenging times in our faith lives, with churches closing down and businesses closing down and doors being closed and fellowship really being ripped out of our hands.
Yeah.
That being on this challenge of Exodus 90 together, the months of January, February, and March, just set the ball up on the tee that we had a true band of brothers to get us through that really difficult time.
Yeah. It was really a God deal.
It was all the way.
So anyway, we're doing lots of fasting, and it's been good.
Yes, it's amazing. There's, like we said, the no snacking between meals, minimizing calories, when you walk through the kitchen, you're not just eating on something because, it's there and I'm kind of hungry. But then we actually have true days, Wednesdays and Fridays, of 24 hours, no food.
Well, there's food, isn't there? Are you doing no food 24 hours?
I do no food for 24 hours.
Oh, I think you can. So, yeah, but you're not a Catholic. And in the Catholic world.
You get that? I'm not a Catholic.
Yeah, he's a wannabe Catholic, ladies and gentlemen. He really wants to be.
I'm getting Glenn converted.
You get one meal and then two very small meals. And the one meal's, the big meal is really a small meal. And the two small meals shouldn't equal the big meal. So we do eat, and you'll find it harder to fast by eating food. I think it's harder. It's much easier to go cold turkey for 24 hours.
And I'm going to tell you why we do the cold turkey 24 hours based on the science stuff.
We're going to get there in a second. That's good. Okay, the first point of the spiritual benefit, self-mastery. Okay, the second one is kind of a Catholic thing, but certainly a Lutheran thing too, and some of the other Protestants.
Lutheran.
No pain, no gain. Or no crown. No cross, no crown. We enter the passion of Jesus. If you want to follow me, Jesus says you must take up your cross. So Jesus meant that literally and metaphorically. He gives everybody a cross. And so this gets into redemptive suffering. Jesus takes suffering and evil and baptizes it, if you will. And so it's through suffering, like Jesus did. He suffered, right? Think about the movie, The Passion of the Christ. It's all about Jesus' suffering, embracing his cross. That scene where he embraces the cross and the Roman centurion or whoever it was says, "Are you crazy? You embraced the..." Yeah, he embraced his cross. And then he says to you and me, and he says to you, unless you take up your cross, you can't be my disciple. We have to embrace the cross. So there is this idea of through suffering, there's spiritual power as well.
And the cross doesn't have to be a huge chunk of wood. This cross looks very different to each one of us.
Yeah, for some men, it's change diapers.
Some of them, it's sitting and listening to their wife and just being present with her.
And not fix her.
And not fix her. Let her be. Let her be.
You would never try to fix your wife. I would never try to fix my wife.
I'm a tinkerer, man. That's my job, is to tinker, tinker, tinker.
All right, so the first one is self-mastery. The second one is no pain, no gain. We really unite ourselves with Christ. This third spiritual benefit is fasting improves our faith. Overall faith strengthens hope. And I put under here, the fruit of that is it increases our spiritual vision. When you begin praying and fasting, the fasting is the key here, we begin to see things in a different light, literally. Literally. And you realize that's not good for me like I thought it was. And I'm wasting my time doing that, and I shouldn't be doing that. And you might see that in other people too. It's like, oh, I didn't see that about you. And I'm not saying you should say anything, but it just brings a whole new light into your day.
Mm-hmm. And gives you perspective in what the brain is being bathed in for its influences. If there's an easier way of saying it, I mean, that's what it comes down to, is it gives you a fresh perspective.
It really does, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mindset.
Yeah, I love the mindset. And this is why we do Exodus 90. It's good to be back on the wagon of the Exodus 90 days of getting out of the world, because you realize, like you were saying, oh, I really need this. I mean, I should have kept fasting. I should have never stopped, but I got lazy. And I really need this, and this is good for me.
Exodus 90 is done. I get to be done.
I'm free. It's actually, no, you go back into the world and you're not free. It's really, really interesting. And what's interesting even about those cold showers is how good I feel after I take a cold shower. You can get into that if you want, because that's really interesting to me. Why do I feel so good? Oh, I hate the cold showers, man. But my body feels great. And it's like, why is my body feeling good? I mean, I thought I don't take hot showers either, but do you want to touch on that quick as to the why? Do you want to wait?
We can wait because it's gonna get really we're gonna take a bullet ride through this stuff.
All right,
amazing.
so the three that I brought up, there's more, ladies and gentlemen, more spiritual benefits, but self-mastery, no pain, no gain, and it improves our faith and strengthens our hope. You see differently. Now, there are some pitfalls that we have to be aware of.
Do tell.
Okay, so Jesus warns us. He says, so that your fasting may be seen not by others, but that your Father who is in secret. So the first pitfall is you show everyone that you're fasting.
Yeah, get on social media.
It's terrible. I mean, you go around people and you go, oh, what's wrong?
So angry.
I'm fasting. It's like, don't do that. Nope. Or listen, a Roman Catholic priest, I asked him, hey, you want to get some lunch? Oh, I'm not supposed to say anything, but I'm fasting today. What? You just told me.
Right. You're not supposed to.
And he tells people that he's fasting. This is my fast day.
No, thank you.
No, you don't tell anyone your fast day. So you make it about you. And the evil one's going to throw pride at you. Look at you. You're fasting like Jesus. Good for you. Show the world. No. Don't let anyone know. Go ahead.
In the old scripture, they talked about putting oil on your head and washing your face so that people couldn't tell that you weren't nourishing your body the way everyone else was. Just
right.
At the time, makeup, if you will, like just cover it up.
The second pitfall is that you try to be a hero. Well, I'm going to fast for 40 days and 40 nights. I'm going to be just like Jesus. I'm going to be holy. And all of a sudden, day 3, you're in the emergency room. No. There's only one Jesus, and that's all there's ever going to be. St. Francis of Assisi, as holy as he was, could never keep up with Jesus. Ever. No one can. Don't be a hero. Start small.
Well, his genetic makeup was a little different than ours too, if you want to get right down to it. Like Jesus had some power we didn't have access. We don't have access to.
Jesus would have been quite a football player. Can you imagine?
I'd have picked him first.
No, I probably would have picked him first. Anyway, so the first pitfall, you show everyone that you're fasting. Second, you do too much too fast, and then you end up not fasting at all because you just can't do it. But the third pitfall is losing weight. You have to be careful here as well. Now, can you fast to lose weight? Yes. Is it a good idea to? Yes. But just because you're fasting to lose weight, that doesn't necessarily mean there will be a spiritual benefit for you.
Right.
What is your intention here?
Right. Where's your focus and where's your why?
Yeah, it's like Lent comes around, and the Catholics, we give up stuff for Lent. Do you guys do that too?
No.
You should be.
No.
Yeah, I'll tell
What's
you
the point of giving up?
Anyway, so if you're not, and I think you are, but you should be if you're not. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. But it's fasting. Lent is about fasting.
Oh, it is.
Yes, the whole point about Lent is Jesus fasted for 40. Lent's 40 days long, right? Jesus fasted for 40 days. So we Catholics, we want to be like Jesus. We fast for 40 days. I might be giving up chocolate. Why do I give up chocolate? Because I'm trying to lose weight. But
Alcohol,
you could.
Sugar.
Alcohol, sugar, sure. So if you're going to fast to lose weight, fast to lose weight. But don't think you're fasting and it's a spiritual benefit. You're doing it to lose weight. Now, if you say to yourself, Lord, I am going to fast to lose weight, but if you could use any of this fasting for your kingdom, I want to do that as well. But I am literally going to try to lose weight.
It's the priority thing, right? Like, Lord, I'm going to fast for you these next 40 days. If the byproduct, as you see fit, is that I get some inches lost or I lose some weight, that's a great benefit to my sacrifice for you. But what's the why? What's the first why?
What's the first why?
Is it about you or is it about your relationship with Christ?
And it's okay if it's about you. If you need to lose weight and you want to do a couple ways to fast to do, there's nothing wrong with that. But don't automatically think there's a spiritual benefit for you, because there may not be. But you could do both, which is kind of tricky. Mm-hmm. So just be aware. Just be aware there may not be any spiritual gold nuggets for you if you're just trying to lose weight.
That's right.
So anyway, those are the three pitfalls.
So out of the three, like, what's the most important to you? What's the most important that you think us Protestants and us Catholics should take from this?
Do not tell someone you're fasting. Do not go to work and tell everybody how hungry. I'm so hungry. Well, why, Dennis, are you hungry? Well, I'm fasting, and you're a pagan because you're not, but look at me, I'm fasting. I mean, that's kind of what we do in our minds. Mm-hmm. So never, ever, ever have a tell.
And so how do you handle that if somebody texts or calls and says, hey, let's go grab drinks, or let's go grab supper tonight?
Okay.
Go
grab supper.
You would?
So I would go grab supper, and then all of a sudden, I'm not drinking alcohol. You going to have a beer? No, I think I'll have water. And I'm not going to have my favorite sandwich. I'm going to have something I may not really like that much. But you don't want to miss out on that fellowship.
Okay. That's great. I think those people need to hear that.
Yeah, go order a mushroom sandwich. I'd rather die than eat that.
Oh, man.
But go order one. Or go order a salad. That
Grilled
you would
portobello.
Never. Let's get into the other part, because there are, right, physical benefits, the physiology of us when we fast. I don't know much about that, but I texted you yesterday and I asked, what is...
autophagy.
Yes, what is autophagy? And but you can talk about whatever order that you'd want. So get in right now the physical benefits.
Well, you touched on it here with Jesus going into the 40 days of fasting and what that is, and what someone might look at if they were going to do that is, the bread and the water, minimal calories, minimal activity, and really difficult to do, both from just a physical health standpoint of how our bodies are composed, but more importantly, your body has to be ready for something like that. And I would never ask you to go run a marathon tomorrow, because you would die. Like, you wouldn't die. You would be in so much pain. You would have blisters. You probably wouldn't even finish running it. You would walk it, and then you're going to hurt so bad the following days that you've probably done more damage to your body than you did good. And so when we start talking about and getting into this thing of fasting is really fascinating, because in our modern culture, it has like a hydra. Like there's all these different ideas of what fasting is. And so in our culture, there's really 3, 4-ish types of fasting. Most common that people know about is the time-restricted fasting, which is you go for 16 hours and you don't eat, and then you have an 8-hour window where you can consume as much food and calories as you want.
Yeah, you see that in the ketogenic diet.
You do.
Where else do you see that? In other diets?
Oh, yeah. You can see it in Mediterraneans. You can see it in other types of diet structures because there's no real limit on what you eat. So, like, what you're talking about with ketogenic is more what they call a warrior diet. We'll come back to that one in a minute. Time interval or time restricted fasting can also be like 18 hours of no eating with a 6-hour window of just eating food. So get up at 8 o'clock. I can eat between 9 and whatever.
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then you're shutting down the system for the next 18 hours. The next most common is the 5-2 fasting. And that's 5 days of eating, 2 days off. There's another one called...
Whoa. What do you mean by 2 days off?
So you
literally no eating?
Yeah, so you have 48 hours of no food. Then there's eat, stop, eat. And that's similar to the 16 or 18-hour timed one. But it's got a little bit different structure of when you stop eating and when you start eating in the evenings versus the mornings and calorie metabolism, things like that. There's alternate day fasting, and the alternate day fasting is what we're doing in Exodus 90, which is just no food. And how I interpret it is the no food on Wednesdays and no food on Fridays. And then the warrior diet. And the warrior diet is more of the hunter-gatherer type concept of, hey, I'm going to go through and I'm going to eat some nuts and I'm going to maybe eat some berries because I'm out tracking down my deer. I'm out tracking down that moose I'm going to kill. But until I can get the right setup to get that animal when it comes up to the watering hole, I'm going to just graze on maybe some leaves off the ground and just go back 500 years of a warrior mindset. And then at the end of the day, you have a very calorie-intensive meal. Typically higher protein, minimal carbs, but it's not like you can't have lasagna, but typically more protein heavy. So those are kind of the 5 most common types of fasting that are out there. You talked about autophagy, and that got me really fascinated because I honestly, in all my medical stuff, I had never heard of it. And if I did, I must have slept through that class because autophagy is freaking amazing.
Tell me about that. Yeah.
So, in the human body, when we constantly consume our food, how often did your family eat?
All day long. I mean, kids are like, Papa, constantly can I have something to eat, but we have 3 meals a day.
Okay, 3 meals.
And we try not to eat right away in the morning. We try to get to 9 or 10 o'clock if we can.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Okay, so pretty safe to say 12 to maybe 15 hours of the day, there's calorie intake or
definitely
intermittent calorie intake. Okay. We would consider that to be a very calorie-rich diet. And frankly, in our modern American diet, it's kind of how it is. Kids go to public school and they eat breakfast at school, or maybe they ate breakfast before they went to school. 11 o'clock, noon, they eat again, and then they go and they get a little snack at the end of the day, or if they go over to one of the great after school programs, the Boys and Girls Club, there's a little snack there, and then they get home, and then they eat another meal with mom and dad, and then maybe a little snack before bed. Like, there's always enough calories going into the system. There's never really a break. So what happens is all of our cell metabolism inside of our body, whether it's muscles, it's our organs, it's our heart, it's our liver, it's our kidneys, they're constantly bathed in nutrition. So this is what's crazy and was just mind-blowing to me. Our bodies are so smart that if there's enough nutrients around and there's enough nutrient availability, the cell goes, hey, life is good. Let's make another one. Let's make another one. Let's make another one. So cell cellular proliferation or expansion is run unchecked. It just, okay, let's make another. Let's just make another. Let's just make another. We see this really interestingly with new babies. The difference between a breastfed baby and a bottle-fed baby. Bottle-fed babies, the primary first ingredient in all baby formulas now is corn syrup particulates, which means it's dried up, crystallized corn syrup that's been ground up into the baby formula. Very calorie rich, very sugar rich. Whereas a mother's breast milk is constantly being adapted and shifted based on the symbiotic relationship of a breastfeeding baby, and how when a baby suckles, some of their saliva actually gets sucked back into the mother's mammary gland, and her immune system will analyze that feedback and then either make the milk more nutrient dense because the baby's in a growth phase, or if they're feverish, or if they've got some sort of bacterial,
Really?
the milk will become more watery so that the baby's getting more fluid running through the system to counteract a fever. It's incredible.
This is incredible. I didn't know this.
Okay, so where we're going here is we're going down the rabbit hole into, well, what the hell does fasting have to do with all this? Tribes and cultures across the world have used fasting as part of their religious order. Monks, Muslims. I mean, the Quran talks about the value of using fasting to get closer to Muhammad. Excuse me. In all of this, what is learned is that when you start calorie restricting and you start doing the fasting component, and to get to autophagy, you suddenly take away this very plush field of plenty of nutrients and plenty of micro and macronutrients that the cells just divide prolifically, to now the cells go into whoa, wait a second. There's not enough resources out here for me to divide. What do I do? And the cells will actually do an internal inventory of everything that's inside their little grocery store, inside their cell walls. And if there's broken down fats and broken down DNA and broken down cellular material inside that cell, it will self-metabolize the garbage, if you will, inside of its own cell to produce energy to sustain its own life. Now, what happens there is cellular metabolism and cellular proliferation slows down. So the greatest cultures that have executed this in our modern culture actually can extend longevity of life through the intermittent fasting. I have a great research article here from New England Journal of Medicine, 2019. They did all these trials in the lab with rats, intermittent fasting, where they were more in this autophagy category, extended their life by 80%.
Oh, my goodness.
80%. No, they lived 80% longer.
So we're eating ourselves to death.
Eating ourselves sick is really what it boils down to. So this is where's the magic window? Like, where does autophagy kick in? Because there has to be just enough time gone by that the cells recognize that there's a possibility of no food. So I'm going to clean my own house. And that gets rid of a ton of risk for cancer and a ton of risk of different disease types. Because if the cell's bad, the cell implodes on its own.
It implodes, like gone.
Yep. I can't sustain because there isn't enough here to allow me to proliferate. I'm a rogue cell. I can't reproduce. I'm not sustainable on my own. But all the healthy cells, they know how to metabolically survive and weather the storm.
I get it.
Okay.
This is very, very interesting.
So,
wow.
Nobel Prize winner, did the research, got the award for identifying how these cells self-consume each other and self-consume to preserve the system, and show the why behind the what, how you gain longevity and livelihood out of all this. So crazy stuff. The alternating day fasting is the winner.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, so explain to me what that looks like exactly. Are you doing this?
This is what
in
I'm
Exodus
doing.
90?
This is what I'm doing. And this is the why I'm doing it and not doing it the way that it's explained.
Okay, so take us through Monday through Sunday.
Monday through Sunday. Okay. Monday, normal day. I have a typical morning breakfast meal, light carbs, heavy protein, no coffee, no extra anything in the morning. I get to my noontime and I have just a regular meal. This week it's been beef stew and a hamburger and a cup of coffee. And then I don't eat anything again until 7 o'clock. And at 7 o'clock, it's whatever my wife happened to make. Last night it happened to be lasagna. So I have just a very appropriate portion, not eating to indulge, but just what is an appropriate portion for my age and my size. Repeat on Tuesday. No snacking between the meals. My last calories are consumed at 8 o'clock tonight, between 7 and 8. I will not eat anything. I will not drink anything that has any extra calories added to it between 8 p.m. on Tuesday night until Wednesday night at 8. And it's kind of that Jewish, what I've learned is kind of that Jewish honoring of the Sabbath day, sundown to sundown. That 24-hour window is enough time for my body to go into self-check. Now I'm going to push it these next few weeks as we go into the next phase of leaving Egypt, and I'm going to go from 8 p.m. on Tuesday until 6 a.m. on Thursday, because I really don't feel like I need to consume calories after 8 p.m. I felt like I wanted to, and I was indulging my own wants on Wednesday night after 8, but really there was nothing that I needed. Now I'll tell you, and we'll get into this in a minute, 3 o'clock, 2 to 3 o'clock, every Wednesday and every Friday, suddenly it's like this clarity comes. All of a sudden the lights get a little crisper, the outdoors gets a little brighter, the colors in my office get a little sharper, and I'm just more present. No fog, no tiredness, no exhaustion, and it's just like humming, and it's just freeing all afternoon. I'm not hangry, I'm not hungry, I'm thirsty, but I drink, but it's just cruise. Whereas if I eat a meal, like today, if I eat my meal at noon, I might get that 1 o'clock tired. But that gets into what the science is behind it and the benefits, right? So I'm going to read and paraphrase. 3 most widely studied intermittent fasting systems are the 5-2, the fasting 2 days a week, the daily timed restriction, which we talked about, and then the marked calorie decrease, where your intake is 1 day or more of a week, reduced calorie intake. Kind of what you were talking about with where you're practicing it. You're reducing that calorie intake on Wednesdays and Fridays, whereas I'm going completely no calories Wednesday, Friday. And how that metabolically switches the brain chemically. And the big thing that we talk about spiritually is when you switch the body from burning carbohydrates to ketone bodies, which are fat, there's always mental clarity to it, because the brain just runs differently off of ketones than it does off of carbs and sugar.
Yeah, that's what I loved about the keto diet. There was this mental clarity I never had, and I don't do it anymore, but yeah, that's very interesting. Keep going. This is great stuff.
So the flip side of this is what we talked about with ketones. If you ever listen to the Joe Rogan Experience, he has an amazing interview with Mark Sisson on show 1624. Mark Sisson is a writer and who talks about intermittent fasting, and he has a very intense conversation about keto diets, ketogenesis, and for some people it's sustainable. For some people it's not, and that's why there's no one diet protocol that works for everybody. You really have to experiment and play around with it on what makes you feel the best and what makes your body run the best. And even within families, you can have the dynamics because of the mother and the father. Even the children can express differently with different diets and how they metabolize food. So really cool stuff. So I want to back up the train a little bit because we talked about doing the 40 days of fasting. And if you hadn't prepped for a marathon, you would just wreck yourself more than you would help. And with our fasting, why you wouldn't just jump off into 40. Well, with intermittent fasting, it helps you build what's called stress resistance. And what it is taking a really stiff piece of metal and working it and fabricating it long enough that it becomes pliable and bendable but doesn't break. When we would go out and try to run our marathon today, we would break. We haven't developed that ability to handle that resistance in a pliable, adaptive way. And so it is proven that all organ systems respond to intermittent fasting in ways that enable an organism to tolerate and overcome challenges and then restore themselves quickly back to homeostasis, which means back to a relative normal. But the fasting puts just enough stress in the system to help it clean house that it can snap back to its normal. Research proven. Effects in intermittent fasting and health and aging. This one I talked about how Goodrick in college reported the average lifespan of rats increasing by up to 80% when they maintained a regimen of alternating day feeding. Every other day eating in adults. Not children, in adults. And the last really kind of big point that they talk about is the physical and cognitive effects of intermittent fasting. And I think this is where we're putting the science behind the spiritual, giving people that, oh, that's why I get spiritual clarity. That's why I feel like God can talk to me. Yeah, you got the garbage out of the way of the world, of everything being all about me and what I have access to. And your body surrenders to God. What do you have for me?
This is fascinating.
I'm mind blown. I am personally mind blown.
This is like a scientific way to hear God's voice.
Yes.
I would have never guessed that.
No, and I mean we're not young anymore. Who and where have we ever heard this? Where have we ever heard that intermittent fasting was a way to talk to God? Well, only those who fast can. I mean, it's right there in the Bible. But how far did we dive in and go, well, that's not for me? What are you talking about? I don't understand.
It's kind of hard with Milky Ways and Snicker bars all over the house.
Well, who bought them?
My wife bought them. I didn't buy them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So really, not kidding. And if you want to put the link for this article in for those nerds out there.
Yeah, definitely.
80 cited resources in this journal, New England Journal of Medicine, about the benefits and the effects of fasting from a physical standpoint. I think the religious aspects and the spiritual aspects don't even hold a candle to this. This is nothing. This gives you the left sided of your brain the reason to do it. But you got to surrender first and go, God, I'm your instrument. I'm going to fast. Whatever comes from this fast is on you.
Okay, so if I want to get into autophagy.
Yes.
So I need 24 hours minimum.
There's really no set limit because everybody's different. Everybody's metabolism is a little different. Some people will hit autophagy 20, 22 hours. Some need to go 26, 27. And that's why I'm going to play with these next 4 weeks of going 8 p.m. on Tuesday to 6 a.m. on Thursday, not cutting it off at 24 hours.
So according to the article, How does one know, or can one know, hey, I'm in autophagy right now?
You would have to have a ton of blood work, and you would have to be looking at yourself cellularly with what's coming and being excreted both through your urine and your feces and everything else to know. But really, from what the research is telling, and not just this article, but the other stuff I was reading, that really you can see it in skin tone, blood vessel proliferation, like how quickly your capillaries return to that nice pink color after you press on them, and all the different physiological things that we can see with our eyes and we can feel with our own body as a good indicator from the outside in if we're on the right track or not.
Gotcha. So 24 hours is really kind of overall general standard.
Yep. I would apply the 80-20 rule. For 80% of our listeners and 80% of us, 24 hours is going to get your body into that point of where you're going to be testing stress resistance. Some of us going to need to go a little longer to test that resistance. Just like a marathon runner when they start runs the 5K. But to test their resistance and make their body stronger, they go a little longer. And there's no research out there saying that you can't not do a 40-day fast. But you have to make sure that you have prepared your body and that your body knows how to properly handle something like that. But that's like someone who's going to go out and run an ultra marathon. They're going to go run 52 miles today. Okay, they've trained and they've prepped for that, and they know that their body can handle that because they've done 26, they've done 32. They're just going to go just a little bit further.
Now, there is that dude who drank water for 40 days. What was that? Have you seen that movie?
I have not.
Oh, yeah. All you do is drink water. 40 days of drinking water. And he made it. And I think he felt better.
There's a man who is in the Guinness World Book of Records for the longest fast. And I want to say it was 388 days. And all he did is drank water and had multivitamins and a little bit of bread, I think. Like day old or stale bread, something like that. But he was a research scientist, and he went into the clinic every single day. I mean, he made himself his own research subject. And he's the Guinness World Book of Record holders for the longest fast.
So this is really the 5-2 plan, but you divide your 2 days up.
Exactly right.
Yeah, maybe you go Wednesday and Friday.
Yep. Alternating day.
So you get to 24 hours. But maybe the idea then is, I think you're onto this. What I'm hearing you say is you're getting to 24 hours, but now in the next week or 2 or 3, maybe you'll get to the 38 to 40 hours.
That's the goal. And just you hit a great point there. What I'm doing with Exodus 90 is the 5-2. I'm 5 days of normal eating. I'm taking 2 days off, Wednesdays and Fridays. True alternating day for all autophagy is Sunday eat, Monday off, Tuesday eat, Wednesday off, Thursday eat, Friday off, Saturday eat.
Saturday, Sunday eat again.
Yep.
And then Monday off. Okay.
Yeah, and you just alternate every other day.
Wow. That'd be step number 3 or 4 for me.
Yeah.
Let's just start with 24 hours.
Yeah.
I'm going to try it.
I mean, even 18 would be an incredible place to start.
Yeah, if you ate your last meal at 8 o'clock and you slept through the night and you just try to get to 8 o'clock, I've done that before. It's not that hard.
No.
When you get past those first hunger pangs, it's really not that hard, and you start feeling good. So the article's name is Effects of Intermittent Fasting on Health, Aging, and Disease by Rafael de Cabo, PhD, and Mark Matson, PhD. And this is the New England Journal of Medicine. I will put a link. And ladies and gentlemen, go for it.
Let us know.
Yeah.
Leave comments.
Yeah.
Tell us what your journey is like, and love to hear a follow-up. I mean, maybe we can have one of you have a success story, even a failure story.
Well, my takeaway from all of this is we're still in Rome.
Oh, so bad.
You know, the United States consumes and wastes, and these are old stats, so I'm not sure where we're at, but consumes and wastes 90% of the world's production of food in the United States.
Yeah.
So there's so much food constantly around us.
If you want to see something really just sad, and this is coming from our lunch ladies that we take care of who are out there taking care of our children at the public schools and even the private schools in the area, how much food just gets wasted at lunchtime at school because the teachers can't make them eat their vegetables, can't make them eat their fruit. They eat the few things that they want. They're required to serve it. They have to serve it because they have to have a complete plate when that child leaves the service line. But there's so much food that just gets pushed off.
I never understood that. They have to throw it away. Who does that? At home, you have leftovers. But the schools, the hotels, we have to throw it away. The restaurants.
It's a public health thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
FDA.
I'm not buying it. Anyway, any takeaway for you?
This is just an incredible journey, and I would encourage anybody as you're expanding and understanding and growing in your faith. God talks through your body, and it's the biggest tool you have at your disposal. So listen to it. Use that time of prayer, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Turn off the radio, pray, and ask for intervention in your life, and then just listen. Just listen. And maybe none of this is for you. That's okay. But there's definitely amazing spiritual aspects to fasting that you should check out.
My takeaway: if you can't hear God, maybe it's because you're not fasting. It's kind of what you said, but yeah, maybe that's really the reason you're eating too much food.
Or consuming too much media.
Either way, well, thanks for listening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Dennis. Great article, great insight on the benefits of fasting from food. Very fascinating.
And I love the how you bring the whole Bible into this conversation, things that they knew 2,000 years ago that we're just finally getting our head wrapped around. That now, okay, yeah, they were right. That was good. That's a good idea. We should do that.
Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. May God strengthen
the bars of your gates.
God bless you.
God bless you.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Glengower Podcast, sponsored by Mission Blueprint. Mission Blueprint is a nonprofit ministry started by Glenn and Jamie to sanctify the family. Our income is donation-based, and we need your help. Please support us financially by going to www.mission-blueprint.org and be a part of our financial team. Thank you, and may God strengthen the bars of your gate.